All right, good deal. So, big class today, right? Hey, sometimes it be that way. I don't know what to tell you. Now, what did we go over on our last deal? What was it that we discussed? The two main things in regards to EQ. Give me one of each of you.
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness and
I don't remember off the top of my head.
because you watched the video, right?
I did. I watched that one and actually another one. I think it was the first class.
Okay.
I can't remember, but I swear I did watch the video.
What's the second one?
Self-management.
Very good. So self-awareness and self-management, first two parts of EQ, right? Being aware of yourself and how you affect yourself, your own thoughts and actions and words, and also how you affect the environment around you. Self-management, being able to actually affect changes within that self-awareness.
Which is the hardest part.
Yes. A lot of people are self-aware, like you stated, Mr. Patrick Bateman, right? Super self-aware, but very little concern as far as managing it. Okay. Oh yeah. Hey, James. Hi. No, you're good. Come on in.
Hey,
Hey, come on up to the second row or something. Yeah, third row either way. That's fine. First started out the section. It works out perfectly. We went over two particular topics in regards to EQ. What were the first two? The main topics.
From last class?
Uh-huh. I think I'll actually get that ringtone just to play just for moments like this.
Was one of them self-awareness?
Yes, sir. What's the second one? It's great being aware of yourself, but what's the next step after that?
Who's she done?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, like skinning in by skin, you'll see, don't
No,
you?
I've been here. I was with AP because they had to give me a new badge.
Okay.
I've been here. Sorry.
It's all good. I think you got in on the 5 minute mark, so that's good. But I do have a question for you, Crystal.
Okay.
So, see, this actually works out well. I'm going to make use of it, yeah? So, last class, we went over two particular big topics, right? EQ is the main one, emotional intelligence, right? There are two main topics right below that. He said self-awareness, that's the first one. What's the second? Come on.
Hold on.
I'm holding.
Wait, she said self-awareness was the other one?
What's the first one? Correct. What's the second?
I can't remember, honestly. I'm trying to think.
Once you learn about yourself, what must you learn after that? How to manage it. Right? So self-management is the second.
Self-management? Oh, I was about to say empowering peers, but self-management.
Close enough.
Yeah.
It's along those same lines. Alright, so now, moving on. Now we're on the second side of things, okay? Oh, I have my clicker. Yes. Boom. So the second side of it is social awareness and relationship management. Alright, so that's where we're going to be heading on today. Now, I've got a lot to this, and I have not narrowed it down for an hour-long only class. So some parts I'm going to go quick, right? So you got to stay with me. Other ones I'm going to hang on to. This is the self-regulation portion, also known as self-management, which I talked about last time. What and how, right behind that. Social awareness. So this is where we're at, right? Understand. Non-verbal social signals. You know, what's his name? Chris. Oh, I didn't go over. He mentioned the social aura and everything else. So anytime you come into a room, right, and there's people in there, there's an aura of sorts, right? You can walk in and feel kind of how the room is. A lot of times we just kind of bypass that. It's not inconsequential. It's just unconsciously noted, right? Because it's unconsciously noted, a lot of times we don't do anything to affect it one way or another, right? And we typically do not react in a cognitive manner at the same time. So what I'm hoping to do by the end of this class, by the end of your research and your work and everything else into it, is to be able to go into a room and not only recognize the kind of the feeling that is there, whether it's one person or 100, okay, but also the different elements that are at play that you're consciously aware of, and how to affect those elements in a positive manner, right? To be able to come into a room, sense that maybe it's kind of cautious, it's maybe it's not at ease so much, it's a little tense, and just kind of sitting back and seeing what kind of happens. And you want to change that to, hey, let's get them excited, let's get them, not necessarily happy to be here, but intent on being here. Like there's a reason for it, there's a purpose for it. Yes, sir.
How would you do like this if you enter the room and it was opposite then? Say me and you walk in the room, everybody's in there talking, laughing, having a good time. As soon as you walk in, they stop. How do you approach that?
Alright, I'll start talking and cracking up and joking and everything else.
I'm gonna be like, "Hey, don't stop laughing."
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of times, you'll be talking and then
Well,
somebody
yeah,
in the room,
like
everybody stop.
as it's like they saw you, it's like, oh, now we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Now we can't joke around and have fun.
Not necessarily that you were talking about that person, but everybody stopped.
Yeah, just because you were kind of in the middle of something that didn't pertain to.
What happened? You do your part. You gotta do your part, right? So what you're saying is you're coming into a room and you want to know how to get under control, essentially. Yes?
Well, not yeah, I guess in a sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't have it under control, they're not going to be listening to anything you have to say,
Yeah.
right? So if y'all had been laughing and joking and everything else and just kind of going on about, like you see a lot of times in high school movies, where a teacher walks into the room and the kids are just going crazy nuts, right? And you got those movies where the teacher's like, I got nothing, I don't know. And you got another one who's like, hey, listen up, this is how we're doing, right? Slamming the name of the chalkboard on the up there, right? There's a number of different ways to do it, right? Particularly, a lot of times I'll pick out a singular person, and I'll input myself into their conversation, right? And then by doing so, I integrate myself there, and then I automatically get people paying attention to me who are paying attention to that conversation, right? And then from that point, I'll simply segue into what we're doing today. That's the simplest way to do it, usually. It's also a good way to meet people too. I'll be randomly walking by somebody or something, and they'll say something, and then I'll comment on that particular thing. And if they laugh, it's a good sign. Alright, so nonverbal social signals, alright, or all that kind of good stuff. Alright, develop positive view of others. This is not always so easy to do, and there's a limit to how much you should do it. I'll get more into that later. Learn basic human emotional needs. Once you learn and understand these in depth, then you will better understand the variables that affect them, how they affect them, and how you could positively affect them yourself. And finally, realize quote-unquote games and personal integrity. The realize games part, and I have that in quotations, it's just like you stated right there, and it depends on how you see it, right? That's how you play the game. That's one of the ways you play the game. You know? Alright, so nonverbal communication. Unconscious communication that may reveal the truth behind what someone is really saying or feeling. Right? So when you're talking to somebody, most of the time, they can't control every single facet of their body. Their facial expressions, their body language, how they're standing, how they're talking, their pitch, tone, pauses, all that. Right? It's extremely difficult to control that at all points in times. So what you want to do is try to see what if a person's message is similar or contradictory or repetitive or any of these right here to what they're actually saying. You're trying to match it, right? So, no, I need to go here. So repetition, does their body language pretty much say the same thing that they're saying? Does it kind of reiterate? It doesn't make it go up, it doesn't make it go down, it doesn't put necessarily more emphasis on it, but the body is in agreement with what they're saying. So if somebody says, love you, James. Right? And the body language is saying it, and you're feeling it, and their feet are pointing towards you, and their eyes are directed right at you, and all the noise and everything else outside of that isn't affecting them, right? Then that is repeat. So that's simply reinforcing the message that I said. Contradiction, on the other hand, is, I love you, James. I want you to know that. I do. Right? I'm saying the same thing. I almost said it in the same way, too.
Your body is different.
My feet are pointed this way. My body is going this way. I can't continue to keep eye contact with you, right? I'm distracted by things out here. That's a nonverbal, and that's a contradictory to what I'm actually saying. Now, this comes into play a great deal. One of the biggest ones is, hey, how you doing? And the answer is, I'm good, or I'm fine, right? 9 times out of 10. But 8 times out of 10, they're not necessarily fine or good, right? Because everybody's always got something going on. They got some kind of stressors or weight on them or something, right? We're all carrying around something, yeah? So when they say they're fine, they're basically saying, I don't want to talk about it right now, 1. 2, I don't trust you enough to give you that information, right? 3, it's not something that I clearly understand here at this point in time. So I don't know enough to really talk about it, and I don't feel comfortable doing so.
I've had a time where I had asking a friend, like, hey, are you okay? And they're like, yeah, I'm fine. And then I said those exact things, like either 1, it's 1, 2, or 3. He said, any of these? They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'll leave it at that then. Obviously, you've already thought about this. You don't feel that you're comfortable to talk to me about it, or you don't know enough to talk about it, so I'll wait till you're ready.
And a lot of times when you do that, they'll pick which one it actually is. So that'll help to direct you at a future point too. So if it was that second one, then you know, okay, well, you know, just you got a big group of friends, you know, you can talk to somebody, even if it's not me, you know, and you really want to get it out there, get something off your chest. We got plenty of people, you know, XYZ who are good listeners, so on and so forth. If it's that third one, like, okay, just when you're ready, let me know. I'll be here for you, right? Because that means they just need time to process. Right? So yeah, contradiction. Substitution, they're trying to tell you something with their body that they feel that they cannot say with their words. So a lot of times, it could be physical touch, like touching on the elbow or the shoulder or something like that, saying, hey, I really want you to know that I think you're doing a great job, but I don't know how to express it. Or hey, I really like you and I want you to know that, but I can't find it within myself to say that. Anger. This is a tough one. People hide their anger in a variety of different ways because they understand that it's negatively viewed a lot of times if you express that specific emotion directly, right? So they will hide anger and sadness, especially in a number of different ways. One of the big ones is laughing, right? Say you're talking to somebody, and they're just kind of laughing, and seemingly the weirdest things, like, yeah, it's kind of humorous, I guess, but not really, but they're laughing. What they're doing is they're trying to redirect that energy so that it doesn't stay on their anger side or on their sadness side, because they don't want to express that emotion because they've gotten a lot of negative feedback in the past from expressing those 2 particular emotions, right? If they express their anger, people feel they're out of control or they're, you know, a-hole or any variety of other descriptive terms, right? People aren't considering all the evidence that goes back behind that may be pushing them, may be enforcing them. The second thing, shoot, I lost my train of thought. It's going this way, and I went off the tracks. Anger and sadness. So anger, so another way to hide it is through laughter. That is the most confusing one because you won't see it right at first, especially if you don't know someone too well. even if, say you're just merely an acquaintance. So if Charles even started, laughing during a conversation with me, and perhaps that was his way of hiding his anger or redirecting it, I may not know. I may not understand. I'll be confused because perhaps we're having a tough conversation. He's laughing in the middle of it. So at that point, you got to use a little bit of context to try to help you discover what the person's actually feeling. But that's where people use substitution. Substitution could be another word for illusion, basically, right? Because they're trying to hide what they're actually feeling. Complimenting. That's exactly as it says. It's just going a little bit above and beyond what would be a repetition. So repetition just simply, hey, this is my message, and I'm simply repeating it. But complimenting is like, hey, you're doing a great job, and I want you to know that, but holy cow, like you were over the top. Here's where you were before, and here's where you are now, right? So they'll do big bodily influences and big changes in their voice, anything along those lines, to make sure that you know that they're being extremely sincere about it, right? So it increases the weight of their words. And for each of these are things we all do on a regular basis, every single one of them, right? I'm telling you these so that you are aware of when you are doing, not just others, but you yourself, right? When are you saying words, but your body language is saying something completely different? Are you sending two completely different messages? And which one do you really want to send? Which one do you really want them to know? And if you want them to know something, this is key. And be clear with your messages, both nonverbal and verbal. Right? Don't play the games, especially guys. We get very easily confused. We're simple folk, man. We're simple folk. Keep it easy for us, okay? Last one is accenting. So again, this is just kind of another level up from the complimenting. So body language and facial expressions from complimenting is a little bit above and beyond, but accenting just simply takes it to another level. So expect a specific example. Usually it's more so with the voice, more the voice inflections, more the facial expressions directed, whereas complimenting is more the body language expressive. And accenting most of the time is directed more towards a group rather than just a single individual.
Let's picture a priest giving a speech during church. He's accenting his words that he's using, trying to, this is what I want to get across.
So nonverbal communication. Now, at any point in time throughout this, I want to be especially clear about this. I'm going to take a quick break, okay? So I can get y'all's attention real quick. At any point in time throughout this, you're asking great questions, and I appreciate that very, very much, okay? Please continue to do that. This is not an information session. Anything that I'm putting up here, you'll be able to find online in the books that you're reading, in your research, anything along those lines. What I'm looking for is for y'all to critically engage in the information that I'm giving you, taking it in consciously and asking, okay, how effective can this be for me? Can I use this in my daily life? How have I been using this in my daily life? And if I have, how? And what success have I had in that process? You know what? I have a couple of questions about that. Well, I've seen what you said, Moulder. And this is what has happened in my particular instance. Right? Like you just brought up with your friend. That's very good. Okay? So please, continue to do that. Question everything. Everything that I have up here, everything that I say, question. Right? So, facial movements. Unconscious communication that may reveal the truth behind. I already said that. Just kidding. All right, read that for me, Mr. Greer.
Human face is extremely expressive.
Okay, hold on. Where's your volume? Okay, go ahead.
The human face is extremely expressive, able to express countless emotions without saying a word. An And like some forms of nonverbal communication, facial expressions are universal. The facial expression for happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, fear, disgust are all the same across cultures.
Who watched Lie to Me at all? Yes? Anybody else? You too? Okay, great.
Yeah, not just one that but I want that,
So you watched Lie to Me a little bit,
Mhm.
right? Did you see this right here, particularly sadness, anger, fear, disgust? Those are big ones.
it was the episode I watched, it was a guy, they were working a case, and whatever he was saying, the main character was able to see was lying based off the unintentional cues that he was giving off. And then he basically was trying to go on a date with another woman he's married, more or less, but he was giving, oh no, this, but he's reading this and was like, no. And then when he told him all that, he was like, oh, how did you know that? Basically, because the guy was questioning whether he was a real or he was fake.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so one of the big ones you probably pointed out there was shaking.
James, yeah.
And what he's looking for in particular, a lot of times, is micro expressions. So expressions that appear on the face unconsciously, right? When we feel something, our emotion, especially as soon as we feel it, it's going to show. It might be for half a second, right? So it might be just a quick feel. And those are the kind of things that give you indicators of what the person may actually be, the message they may actually be sending, right? You ask them a question, you want to know the truth to it. Watch immediately after you finish asking the question. Bring it in. Body movements and posture. Crystal, read that for me, please.
Consider how your perceptions of people are affected by the way they sit, walk, stand up, or hold their head. The way you move and carry yourself communicates a wealth of information to the world. This type of nonverbal communication includes your posture, bearing, stance, and subtle movements.
Okay. So, if I, what message did I just communicate right there?
It's like you were walking and thinking, like, yeah, but
You're
Go
walking,
deeper.
you're thinking about something totally different.
Go deeper. I'll do it again.
you might be sad, questioning things,
No?
Yes.
you might be questioning.
No. Doubt, questioning, lack of certainty,
Yeah.
and a lot of those come with a certain amount of weight, right? So if you saw my shoulders, they were coming a little bit forward as well, as opposed to, right. So it means that whatever it is, I'm not handling it very well, and it's wearing on me very, very heavily, right? James.
Since the visual sense is dominant for most people, eye contact is an especially important type of nonverbal communication.
Hold on one second. Forgive me. All right. Do you have a voice fluctuator by chance? Just like in your pocket or something?
No.
No? Yeah, give me. All right. So give it a little bit more. Give it a little bit more.
Since the visual sense is dominant for most people, eye contact is especially important type of nonverbal communication. The way you look at someone can communicate many things, including interest, affection, hostility, or attraction. Eye contact is also important in maintaining the flow of conversation and for engaging the other person's response.
Okay. What does that mean? Anybody?
So I think this, what it's just trying to say is like when you're communicating with somebody, you want to be all in with that person. So it's like how they say about eye contact is important, let you know that the person is actually listening to what you're saying, they're engaged.
I was gonna say too, that maybe lying, if you're questioning someone, or it's maybe true, if they break eye contact, or look away, or like, hey, Moulder, did you do this? And you constantly answering, but you're looking down at the floor, looking up, you might be telling a lot. You're trying to think of what I wanna hear.
Yeah. science behind that too. There's a couple of different things, particularly with lying. Because some people, they'll dare you to call them when they're lying. They'll look you so hard in the stinking eye and be like, I dare you to call me on my crazy lies. Go for it. Go ahead.
They mentioned that too on the show. It was like if somebody is trying to purposely look you right on, they could also be lying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they're looking away, typically up and to the left, I think it is. That's kind of the imagination side of the brain. Left side of the brain is like artistic side, right? From that side, yeah. So it's up and into the left. And when you're looking up, you're kind of looking for, or down. Oh, it is down. You're right, because you said down. That's right. Because up is you're looking more so into your memories. So you can look more so into the creative side of your memories here. But looking down, you're just kind of looking to make something up entirely. Something that didn't necessarily happen. But yeah, there's a couple of different ways for that. But eye contact, yeah, eye movement in general, right? You want to know what someone's thinking about? Just watch their eyes. Watch what they're looking at.
I had a cousin with ADHD and ADD, and that was not helpful.
Oh no, because boom, boom.
Mid-conversation, I'm like, is she listening? Is she paying attention? And that was a big thing for eye contact, is it helps to show the other person that you're actually listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're constantly looking away, they start to feel, all right, this person doesn't care, this person's not paying attention to me, they're not being empathetic towards what I'm saying.
Right. So I'll tell you all this. Whenever I'm up here, or any of the other D2L leaders, and they're doing their job, and I see someone either on their phone or on their laptop, I start losing my mind just a little bit. Just a little bit. I know you're taking notes. And I get that. But the feeling for me is still there. Because of the connotation associated with it. Right? And I have to kind of rein that in sometimes. Because I have to think, okay, is she taking notes? Yes, she is. Like I called AJ out, I think in the first or second time. I was heated by that point. I don't know if y'all could tell, but I was hot. And it's like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing on the phone? Right? And he's like, oh, I'm just taking notes. Okay. Right. So yeah.
Or to add to like even person like not to deal with a class or anything, but FaceTime. Anytime I FaceTime somebody and they're not looking at you, I can't have the conversation effective. And I'll stop and they be like, yeah, I'm listening, but no, it's a video. I kinda wanna see to get that feedback. That's why I FaceTime.
Right.
If you just, they got you on pause or they're looking down or, the cameras, I can't see you. So